Hi, I'm Ian Griffiths, and this is a talk from the Building Silverlight Business Applications series. In this talk, we'll look at how to use the SL Launcher executable in the Silverlight program folder. If you look in the Microsoft Silverlight folder in your computer's Programs Files folder, you'll find a program called slauncher.exe. You can use this to perform a couple of useful tasks with out-of-browser applications. If you pass the /emulate switch, you can run an out-of-browser application without having to install it first. This switch runs the application as though it had been installed in the usual way. When using this switch, you also need to provide a /origin switch. This tells the launcher what URL it should pretend the Zap was downloaded from. The Zap URL of origin is available to Silverlight code, and for out-of-browser apps installed in the usual way, Silverlight just remembers where they came from. But since we're emulating the launch process here, we need to provide the nominal URL. Some applications may never ask for this, but some might use it to work out what URLs to use when communicating back home via a web service. So slauncher.exe insists that we provide it in case something asks for it. Another way to use slauncher.exe is with the /install switch. This lets you install an out-of-browser application without having to go through the usual web browser mechanism. This is a silent installation. The user won't be prompted as they would when installing via the web, and they won't see any kind of UI at all. The application will just silently become available on either the Start menu, the desktop, or both, depending on what you pass as the /shortcut option. This feature lets you install a Zap from local media, such as CD-ROM or the local hard drive. So, as with the /emulate switch, once again we pass an origin URL, so Silverlight knows what address to offer if code asks where the Zap was originally downloaded from. To illustrate this, I've got a command prompt open here in a folder that contains a Zap file from some code I wrote earlier. And normally we'd expect to install this via the web. You'd go to a web page that contained the Zap and you'd right-click and install it to run out of browser. But instead, I can just use the slauncher command, which I've put on my path. Now I'm going to use the /emulate switch and just pass the custom chrome.zap. That's the name of the Zap I'd like to run. And because it needs to know where to pretend the thing was being downloaded from for emulation purposes, I also specify the /origin switch. And it really doesn't matter where this comes from, because this is just the hypothetical URL that it's going to pretend it was downloaded from. This is never used for anything by this particular application. Now, if I was running an out-of-browser application that actually connected back home, as it were, that actually connected to a web service that was relative to wherever the Zap itself came from, then this would be significant. But this particular application doesn't, so I can pass in whatever URL I like, because nothing's ever going to use it. It simply has to be present, because slauncher insists that it's there. So if I run this, then even though the application was not installed, it runs out of browser. And this is an example from an earlier demo. I can also use slauncher to install things silently. If I do install custom chrome.zap, and again, it's going to insist on having the location. Doesn't matter what that is. And also, I have to specify what kind of shortcut I'd like, and I'm going to say I'd like this to appear on my Start menu. And you can also optionally specify whether you'd like to overwrite any existing instance of the application that might be present. And if I hit enter, you can see I get no UI whatsoever. The thing is just installed silently.